Get that kettle on, make yourself a brew, and get ready to settle into episode 11 of your new favourite podcast, Off the Rails, with me, the offrailgamer. Don't worry, if your PG tips are still in need of hydration, you can simply hit pause on whichever platform you're listening to this on, and by virtue of this show being pre-recorded, we'll all wait for you to get yourself ready and comfortable. And it won't even interfere with other listeners' enjoyment, as they can simply keep this going if they're not in need of a comfort break. In fact, this raises a good point that I've not covered on here before. If you do need to go and make yourself a drink, take an important call, or otherwise step away during this broadcast, there's no need to excuse yourself. Just hit that pause button, and when you return, for I'm confident that you will, of course, return, we'll pick things up right where we left off. No hall passes required. And with that out of the way, this is Off the Rails, your fortnightly podcast about video games, and this is episode 11. We've got plenty of content coming your way over the course of the next 20 to 30 minutes, but first, I start every show by listing out all the different places you can find me online. You can find me on YouTube, sometimes on Twitter and Twitch. I'm also on TikTok. This podcast goes out on Spotify, Amazon Music, and Google Podcasts. And if you want to get in contact with me, the best place to reach out is via email to offrailgamer@gmail.com. I'm not verified on any platforms, but I have included links to everywhere you can find me in the podcast episode description. Now that's just about everything we need to cover in the intro segment, so let's move on to the next section, and I'll catch you up on what I've been playing recently. Unfortunately, I missed another week on YouTube. However, at the weekend just gone, I uploaded a video on a very cool PS1 fighting game in X-Men Mutant Academy 2. This game is effectively Tekken with a cast of fighters from Marvel's X-Men, but I have to say that it's not just some gimmicky tie-in game based on another popular game franchise. MA2, or Mutant Academy 2, genuinely delivers on gameplay, mechanics, and especially given its age, still looks really good too. I guess that's possible given it features the popular comic book and cartoon characters. Therefore, I guess it was never intended to make it look as realistic as possible, and so the game, in my opinion at least, seems to have aged very well. Next on the channel, I posted a surprise Monday video in which I derailed the profits for Locomotive Company in Railroad Tycoon 2, also on the PS1. Now this absolutely feels like a title I could sink a lot of hours into once I've got to grips with the mechanics and figured out what I'm meant to be doing. Railroad Tycoon 2 introduces you to the United States of America in the 1800s and sees you connecting cities and setting up supply routes between them. You can also upgrade your train stations with telegraph poles, post offices, saloons and restaurants. My only problem was that I kept running out of money. Off the channel, I've been spending some more time with my Analog Pocket. I've been having a look at FIFA 2003 for the Game Boy Advance, as well as Road Rash on the Game Boy. And I can even play some old Sega favourites, so you'd best believe I've been playing some Sonic. It's been a real blast revisiting these games, and being able to play handheld with the option of hooking it up to the TV is just wild. But that's not all I've been playing. My former Game Void colleague and I have continued our playthrough of Stardew Valley, and we've completed the restoration of the community centre and shut down the local Joja Mart. Everyone seems pretty happy about this, despite the fact we've definitely made a few residents unemployed, not least Ben Shapiro lookalike Shane. Ugh, he's just about as irritating as Ben Shapiro too, so I actually can't feel bad for him. And that is everything I can think that I've been playing in the last 2 weeks, so I'll jump into some gaming news before picking up your comments in our still relatively new segment, Listeners' Whispers. Last week, news dropped of a remaster of classic games Tomb Raider 1, 2 and 3. I guess I talked enough about Tomb Raider 2 the other week when I devoted an episode to it, but I have to say that I, along with many other people online, am really looking forward to this, especially as it's getting a release on the Switch as well, which will allow us to follow Lara's adventures while we're on the go ourselves. Now, being a remaster, I'm expecting these to come complete with tank controls, but the graphics upgrade looks like these are definitely going to be worth picking up. PlayStation Remote Play is now available on Android TV devices, including Google Chromecast. What this means is it should be much easier to take your games with you when, for example, you go on holiday, as long as the internet connection where you're staying is up to that. And lastly, for gaming news, following a leak from Microsoft, it's possible we'll be seeing the next generation of Xbox in 2028 with plans to launch a hybrid cloud gaming system. Considering most people have only just got their hands on the current gen consoles, I think it's a bit premature to be thinking quite so far ahead yet. Saying that, given the reported file size for GTA 6, maybe it'll be worth Rockstar holding its release back a few more years. I jest, of course. The sooner we can get our hands on the next GTA, the better. Anyway, it looks like Microsoft does plan to stay in the console business, which is hopefully a good thing. And that's your gaming news for this week, so let's hear your thoughts in Listeners' Whispers. Dear offrailgamer, first of all, I hope my emails have been recognisable in the tone of a whisper to fit the Listeners' Whispers segment. It's still going to be a scattershot of talking points though. I remember fondly playing Game Boy games on the TV via SNES adapter, enlarging games usually trapped on the handheld and importantly giving a backlight so no more squinting at the tiny screen. Good luck with battling Death as Dread and its plethora of challenge levels. Oh, definitely Shunt. He's no nonsense. Pickaxe and push, straight into the pit. Crossfire was such campy fun splatter. LOTRTT was a banger. Getting to play it during the film phenomena was a joy. So you have the right of it, saying the game was great at making you feel like you could fight and slay orcs like they do on the silver screen. Glad you completed the bonus level. I mained Aragorn. It was too easy to lose Gimli in the melee due to his stoutness. South Shields does sound like a rocking place. Thanks and bye. Oh, P.S. Nice new outro music. And that communication came in from Lawrence in South Shields, which probably sounds like a rocking place because it was actually built on rock and roll. I wouldn't expect you to know that because I've just made it up. In seriousness though, I am hoping to visit someday, as it's a part of the world I've only driven by so far, but not had the opportunity to stop. Don't worry Lawrence, although I don't read your emails in a whisper, primarily because ASMR videos tend to give me migraines, I can assure you I understand your musings to be imagined as though they're being delivered in such a way. I never had a SNES as a child, but I do now have the adapter you speak of, and it is a real game changer, quite literally in fact. However, you do get that Super Game Boy border around the outside of the screen. Thank you for wishing me luck with Dread vs. Death. I haven't had a chance to fire it up yet, but I'm certain I'll need all the luck I can get. I'll maybe try and put a video up this weekend. Good choice of housebot, by the way. I always thought Matilda was a bit underpowered with just a circular saw for a butt. Two Towers was such a fun game to play. I did go back through most of the levels with all of the characters after I'd fully upgraded them, and Gimli was a proper little tank. Ain't it funny he also played Treebeard, one of the tallest characters in the film? Thanks for writing in again. And if you'd like to get your comments read out on the next podcast, simply send an email to offrailgamer@gmail.com and try to keep it clean. Now, without further ado, let's tuck into our main course. This week I'm going to talk about some of my favourite cel-shaded games with, to varying degrees, branching storylines. Now, without intending any controversy or coming across in any way pretentious, I'm just going to let you know that I won't be including any Telltale games in this episode, but I don't want you to think that I'm snubbing them in any way. In fact, I really enjoyed the games that I've played so far, but I feel like they deserve an episode of their own at some point. So the first game up for discussion today is Campo Santo's Firewatch, which released all the way back in 2016. It honestly doesn't feel possible that this game could be 7.5 years old already, as its launch still seems so fresh in my memory. That said, I'm still going to try and talk fairly loosely around this and all the games featured today, because I honestly think that if you haven't already, you should definitely play these for yourself. In Firewatch, you've just started a new job as a fire warden in a national park. You have a workstation set up in a watchtower that gives you oversight of a not insubstantial area with a view to ensuring the protection of the park, investigating any potential mischief, and reporting wildfires in the unfortunate event of natural disaster. Just to give you a flavour of some of the things you'll get up to in this game, one of your first tasks involves confronting some underaged drunks who have disrobed to bathe in the lake whilst blasting obnoxiously loud music from a boombox. I should mention that the game is set in 1989, so these kids aren't throwbacks or old school or anything. Your only connection to the world beyond your tower and your patch is via two-way radio, and over the course of the summer you'll have the opportunity to build up some rapport with a colleague from one of the other towers. To get around, you'll be hiking, scrambling, and occasionally abseiling to some harder to reach areas. There are some pretty neat mysteries you'll uncover through the course of play, but I really don't want to spoil any of these, so you'll just have to play for yourself to find out what I'm alluding to. I personally really enjoyed my playthrough of Firewatch, hence the reason I wanted to talk about it today. And the ending, without giving away what happens, left me feeling slightly hollowed out isn't the correct term, but I guess a mixture somewhere between morose and happy. I feel like that's a sign of good storytelling in a game, as I was left feeling somewhat like this at the end of such other great titles, Red Dead Redemption 2, Brothers, A Tale of Two Sons, and Oxenfree. It's definitely not too late to pick this game up. In fact, I feel like returning to it myself, which might give us content for a future stream. Next on my list is Last Stop. I started playing this game on YouTube a few months back, around the time I started the Off the Rails podcast. Last Stop follows 3 sci-fi branching storylines that somewhat overlap. Set in London, these follow 3 or 4 kind of main playable characters through their less than ordinary daily lives. There's the single dad who works for the council in a dead-end office job with a boss who's several years his junior and would make David Brent seem like boss of the millennium by comparison. His life takes an interesting twist one day when he crosses paths with his health-conscious neighbour, beyond the fact that their post keeps getting delivered to one another. Then there's the group of school kids who decide to investigate the goings-on behind a strange man who invites women back to his house, but then seemingly those women never leave again. By the way, I'm only briefing you on the introductions to each of these storylines and trying my best to avoid spoilers. That can wait until I inevitably upload video content on each of these games. Finally, there's the lady who works for some kind of secret intelligence organisation. This storyline initially put me in mind of the first Men in Black film, but don't worry, Variable State really did their own thing in terms of storyline. I will be honest, when I first started playing Last Stop, it didn't immediately grab me, and I wasn't sure how I'd get on with it, but once I was a few episodes in, I was well and truly gripped. Being episodic, this game has plenty of cliffhangers, playing out almost like a TV drama, which leaves you wanting to come back for more and find out just what exactly is going on. And that's something that I really can't tell you, not just to avoid giving too much away for anyone considering playing this for themselves, but also because I really don't think I could sum it up concisely, even if I wasn't worried about spoilers. What I can tell you is that I really warmed to this title, and at some point I need to go back and mop up the remaining trophies to earn the platinum for it. Do check this game out for yourself, but if you do want to find out whether it appeals to you first, you can always watch my video over on YouTube, linked in the podcast episode description. The third and penultimate game that I want to talk about today is Digix Art's Road 96, in which you'll play as a number of different nameless children living under a dictatorship in mid-90s fictional country Petria. Your objective for each of the 6 playable characters is to flee Petria and make it across the border without facing arrest or death. Along the way, you'll encounter a number of different people, some of whom publicly support President Turak's dictatorial grip over the country, and others who are privately working to bring about the downfall of Turak's regime. You decide whether to assist people politely or rudely turn them down. The thing is, you're hitchhiking across the country in an attempt to reach the border and freedom. By helping or being agreeable towards the right people, they'll help you cover more ground, sending you on your way. Sometimes, though, you need to know when to run away. Each time you start from a different part in the country, and some journeys will require you to travel further than others. You also won't always face the same encounters, or you might run into them in different orders. This means you won't get the same experience every time you play. Every playthrough only takes a matter of hours to complete, but you'll honestly find yourself jumping back in to find out what happens based on different choices. I really enjoyed this game, and I think you might too if you give it a chance. As always though, please do your own research first. I'm not a professional games recommender, I'm just one man expressing his own opinions. And last on the list of games for today's lecture is 2021's Lake, developed by Gamius and published by Whitehorn Games. Lake transports the player back to 1986, where you pick up the story of Meredith Weiss, a software developer. The game opens with Meredith reminding her boss that she's returning to her hometown of Providence Oaks for 2 weeks. Providence Oaks is a small town built around a big lake, which I guess is where the game takes its name from. See? It's all making sense now. You, or rather Meredith, has come home to temporarily cover her father's role delivering mail. And that really is the backbone to this game. Out and about in the van delivering letters and parcels. But this isn't just post-service simulator. What makes this game such a joy to play is its slower pace and all the interactions with the local populace. And there's a really nice little Easter egg in there too. Or I'm not sure if this is really an Easter egg so much as a cameo. Yes, I should have said cameo. I don't know if you've seen the show Detectorists, but if you haven't, I can highly recommend it, so please do go and give it a look. It's a really nice, gentle comedy with plenty of genuine laugh-out-loud moments, and I sincerely wish there was more telly like this. Anyway, out in the fields, you'll find Mackenzie Crook, writer and star of Detectorists, are out metal detecting as his character from the show, I'm pretty certain. Now, I played the game first, but it was exciting to then finally get this when I did watch the show. I really thoroughly enjoyed playing Lake and picked up the plat for this game. If you're interested, I posted a full playthrough without commentary to YouTube last year, so you can follow the link in this podcast episode description, which will take you to that playlist. I honestly don't think I can speak highly enough of this game though, as it delivers such a pure and quaint escape from the harsh realities of the modern world. And with that, I guess it's time to wrap this episode up. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope to catch you back here in 2 weeks' time. Bye!